and Kat. Now fans will see a different side of Jennette as she stars in Netflix's new original sci-fi drama, Between. Let's take a look.
Oh, I'm 22 years old.
35 seconds.
Do we not have...
We don't have, we've lost a lot of connections.
People can see us, right?
Not right now, no. On the live feed, the video's playing.
Government computers.
We've just lost.
Like other people are going to be able to watch us.
Yeah. They can see you. It doesn't look like this.
Here's the first spirit.
This is the podcast version.
Having seen
10
that,
seconds.
fast doesn't seem like a temporary solution.
5.
One. We have to live forever.
Jennette joins me now to tell us more. Welcome!
Thank you for having me.
You are so bubbly for someone in such a dark show right now.
I know. I guess, I don't know. I have to like balance it out to counteract.
Talk to me about the show. I was shocked at how sort of dark and twisted it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's a survivalist thriller. It's about a small town that's put into quarantine after a disease outbreak. Everybody's dying, so it definitely is like kind of heavy.
Into that either.
No, people just start dropping like
Dropping
flies in the first episode.
How did you get involved with the project?
I was on vacation at Disney World, and I heard my manager call me and said that Netflix was making some new show, and they wanted me to come meet with them about it. It really, I don't think would have mattered what the project was. The fact that Netflix was involved was like, you know, the #1 thing for me.
Are you a Netflix
junkie? Yeah.
Right.
I don't even have like cable.
Binge on?
I've seen, I haven't seen the new season of House of Cards, but I love House of Cards. I love Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I binged like Lost. I binged West Wing. I feel like it's where I started watching all the shows that I've watched over the past like 2 years.
I recently binged West Wing.
Did you?
Oh yeah.
Bradley Whitford is it.
So
He's
good.
the best.
He's so good. And now you are involved in a Netflix show, but you are involved in one that is different than the other ones because you're doing it week to week.
Yes, that's because it's like a duo production. I don't know what word I was just gonna say. Dual. What am I saying? It's like a Canadian production company, and then Netflix has the show airing for them as well. But in order for them to not have to wait until all the episodes aired in Canada and then release them all at once, they were just like, we'll just air it week to week so people can get on board as soon as they want to.
Your character, Wiley Day, is so different than any character you have really ever played, or characters that we're used to seeing you. Talk to me about Wiley.
Well, I mean, I guess there's one common denominator, and she's kind of like rough. I always play these weird, like, kind of tomboyish characters that are a bit rude. What does that say about me? But I liked the character because she's cynical and going through a lot, but she's actually just really sensitive. So I liked the scenes where I got to be sweeter. I didn't have too many of them, but but when I got to show that side, that's what I was more like excited about.
At first brush, Wiley seems almost a little unlikable, but then when you sort of get to know her, she just is damaged.
Yes, I mean, I feel like that's a thing with many people who might seem unlikable on the surface. It's just they're hiding more, or like, you know, have more drama in their lives. Are you going to get into
why that is?
You kind of will. In like the fourth episode, I think there are some things that happen to my character that will hopefully make you like her a little bit more. And then by like the 6th episode, we find out a little bit, maybe a little more Wiley background.
Do we get a name?
For
the baby.
You'll have to watch.
Ah! I was like, baby name. What's the baby name? Gonna tell me who the dad is? There's a lot of mystery shrouded in your character outside of the mystery that is the town.
Yeah, I feel like Wiley's just very withholding, so there's just like a lot of unanswered questions, but some of them are definitely answered as the season unfolds.
We have fans of yours who left some video questions. This one is from Grace Gathing. Let's take a look, or a listen, because we can't see it.
So my last question is, since you've worked on so many different TV sets since you've been little, what makes the set of Between different from all the other ones, and what's something that you've like learned from the set of Between that you haven't gotten out of other TV sets that you've worked on?
I think naturally just the people that you're around and that environment kind of creates the experience even more than the content of whatever the show is that you're working on. I met some really great people during this show, and I loved meeting more, I guess, Toronto-based talent, and I think there's something different to a Canadian upbringing than, you know, maybe how people are brought up in the States, so it was kind of fun for me to get to know people from Canada.
How was being pregnant?
I had 2 different bellies. One of them was heavy, and I did not like that
Like
one at all.
ultimate birth control, where you're like, my
Right?
God,
Yeah.
this is hard.
Well, and sometimes I would have to like pee. It was just I would like hold my pee way longer than I should because it like the suit like buckled at my crotch, and I'd have to like pull this way, and then it was just like a whole to do, and it was a lot of work.
That is too much for me to handle. It's really weird to see you pregnant. How did you?
Is it?
Well, yeah. 'Cause I feel like I associate you with being like a teenage,
Not pregnant.
and like a teenage young star.
Sure.
How did you make the decision to sort of get into a very, very adult role? I mean, it's a young cast, but it's not a teen drama.
No, honestly, like I just liked that Netflix was doing the show. I liked the character. I thought it seemed like a fun show to work on and something really different and challenging. So that was most it. It wasn't like, you know, I wasn't like fixated on doing a drama, and I would certainly like to go back to comedy because that's, I think, what I'm most passionate about. But yeah, I was excited about working with Netflix.
How are your fans reacting to this like, sort of new side of you?
They seem to really love it. There have been a few people who commented on my character being unlikable, and I don't really like know what to say to them. Sorry, you know, I can't control it.
Almost good, because if you played these characters that people just beloved sort of growing up, and now you're playing someone who you want to watch, but is interesting on a different level. And being I mean, if you think of some of the greatest characters on television, like Walter White wasn't like a likable guy. You didn't want to have a glass of wine. And Frank Underwood, not the best guy in the world, but really complex.
Yeah, see, I think that was, I had just watched House of Cards once I started doing Between, and I think that was, like, in some weird part of my mind, I was like, yes, Frank Underwood, unlikable. Wiley Day, unlikable. I am Kevin Spacey. Like, just a leap of faith.
Okay, I can see that leap of faith there. You are Kevin Spacey, do the little ring slam that he does. We have another video question coming in from you. This one is all the way from Brazil. Let's take a look.
Hi Jennette, my name is Dana, and I have 2 questions for you. The first one is, when do you come to Brazil? And the second is, do you miss working with Middle Grove and Crest?
So when are you going to Brazil, number 1?
Well, I really want to get to Brazil. I've never been.
Will you have someone to hang out with?
Yeah.
Show you around?
Well, and I love Brazilian fans. Every time they'll write to me on Twitter and things, it's very much like all caps, like Brazil loves you. And I'm just like, I love their passion. And
the second part of the question, do you miss
Miranda and Nathan? Miranda's actually my best friend in the world. I see her all the time. So I mean, I haven't seen her in a couple weeks while I've been traveling and promoting Between. So I've missed her during this time.
Doesn't that drive you crazy when you don't see your BFF? I didn't see my best friend for like 2 weeks, and last night we stood in the kitchen and just hugged for a little while.
Oh, hug it out, sister! You got to. Yeah, I'm gonna see Miranda and have a sleepover with her on whenever I get home, like the day that I get home.
Is the dynamic on set different now that you're a little bit older when it comes to sort of creating these friendships than you were maybe when you were a little younger?
I think so. I guess, I guess I was a little bit more like of a prankster when I was younger, and I didn't do that so much on this show, but maybe that's just because of what the content was, and maybe if it was a comedy, or something a little more lighthearted, I might have had a more lighthearted side of myself behind the scenes as well.
What is it like being so young, having all of the cameras on you, all of this attention with you, and did you feel competitive with your co-stars? I mean, it seems like we wouldn't with Miranda because it's your best friend.
Sure, yeah. I think that growing up in like the kids' television space is such a unique experience that it's important to just kind of like band together and maybe share stories and share experiences with those people, because it's just bizarre, like it's a really, I guess, kind of unique dimension of entertainment that it's hard to relate to unless you've been there. So I think banding together is better than like splitting apart.
You've mentioned in interviews in the past that whatever sort of beef went on or issues went on with Ariana Grande and Sam Cat are over and like water under the bridge. Do you think they were blown out of proportion?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think I think people kind of look for drama and look for a story and perpetuate that story because it's easier to make a headline out of something negative than something positive sometimes, and probably the viewership is better, and drama fuels the world, I think, in a lot of ways. So I think it was definitely blown out of proportion.
You seem to have made such a conscious and public effort to separate yourself from that drama. You write a lot of pieces you've written in the Huffington Post. One of my favorite headlines and pieces from you was from the Wall Street Journal last year called "Do I Look Fat in This Article?" And you sort of touch on our cultural obsession with female beauty standards and how we as women are treated. What prompted you to be so open about that?
I think that I've been like plagued with body image issues my entire life, so I guess speaking out about it is important, but also speaking out in the right way, because sometimes I get worried if I write an article that somebody that it might romanticize the idea of something negative. So I never want to make young people think that something is glorified or behaving a certain. I just want to make sure that when I say things, I think kind of before I speak, because I do recognize that maybe some young people look up to me and listen to what I have to say, so I just don't want to give them the wrong thing to model their years. And
you've addressed that too in some of your writings. You wrote something about sort of not wanting to be a role model. I mean, you do what you do, it's your job, and people look up to you. But I think it's great that in that piece you say look up to the people that surround you, because you know me, and people make mistakes. People live their life. Not everybody will agree with everything you do all the time.
Yeah, I think it's the most important thing to find someone, or maybe a few people who whose actions you are well aware of, whose actions aren't, publicized, and treat them as the people that you maybe want to be your role models, because I think it's just dangerous territory if it's I certainly appreciate people who look up to me and everything, but like I said, it's just, I'm 22, I make mistakes all the time, I'm trying really hard, but I just think it's I would never want somebody to have to make the mistakes that I've made just because they think oh, well, that's what she did, so I'll do the same thing.
And I would think that you want the opportunity to be able to probably try things out and make more mistakes. I mean, we look at people like Miley Cyrus, and she's gotten so much flack for just being her and trying things out and doing what I think most people at 21, 22 were doing, but we just didn't have cameras on us. So.
Yeah, I applaud Miley in a lot of ways. I think that she seems like I don't know her personally, but I've met her at a few events, and she's always very kind, and she seems like she's really happy with what she's doing, and I think that's amazing. I feel oftentimes I overthink things, and will put the thought process that we've just been going through right now. It's well, which do I do? And that can be, that kind of neurotic sensibility can be frustrating, and maybe not as fulfilling as just being I'm gonna do me and be Miley and.
Sometimes that comes with age, though.
Yeah.
Your neuroses kind of goes by the wayside, and then you can just say, all right, I can do me.
That would be amazing.
Even if I don't know who me is right now.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. We have a Periscope question coming in, which is that little camera over there. Someone wants to know, what is your favorite experience throughout your career?
Ooh.
When you think back, is there something you said that was so fun?
My favorite experience, I actually came to New York for the first time when I was 12 to tape Law & Order SVU, and I had wanted to come to New York since I was 6 years old, so that was sort of a dream come true, and I got to it was the first time I'd been traveling for work. It was very, very, very fun. I like that.
Oh, that's so cute. I remember my first time to New York too. I was so excited. And for some reason, I don't know why my producer, Emily, is so obsessed with me asking you this question, but it's from Twitter.
Oh.
And Shannon wants to know, what is on your perfect pizza?
Ooh, I love just a basic cheese pizza. I also like Hawaiian, and my favorite pizza of all time that they discontinued was at California Pizza Kitchen. It was on the kids menu, and it's a honey chicken pizza.
You ordered off the kids menu?
Yeah, it was cheese with chicken and then honey drizzle on top.
I kind of love that. I have another Twitter question coming up, some sort of question that's, of course, now it's frozen because today is the day of tech issues coming all over the place. We'll let that load. Now, aside from, your acting and you've had a singing career, you also are sort of producing, a web series.
Yeah.
Do you like being behind the camera?
I love it. I think eventually I would really love to just be in a writer's room for a sitcom, or just be more behind the scenes, and just kind of show the messages the things that I believe in, and I guess that's my goal long term for sure.
So I guess we've answered this question that finally loaded. Are you still writing? Do you plan on writing a book or another series? What's next for Sarah? P.S. Between is amazing. Do you have to set aside time to do something like that when you're not filming? You're writing a new series?
Yeah.
Awfully time consuming.
Right. I focus on, I try to set aside a certain amount of time each day for writing, but then sometimes I'll get in ruts. Recently I just feel I am writing too much and I don't really know what I want to say right now. I need to live a little bit before I go back to writing and have a more kind of concise conviction to what I'm trying to say. And I would write another maybe like web series or movie at some point. I definitely want it to feel right to me, and I need to do some, I think, processing aside, and then I can like go to the page and have something to say.
We have another Periscope question coming in. How did you get into acting?
I saw Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, and I wanted to marry Anakin Skywalker. Yeah. Pipe dreams.
That's the best how you got into acting answer ever. You wanted to marry Anakin.
But
how's that working out for you?
Terribly. Like, no, but I don't know what I was thinking, because he had like this weird, he had this telephone like bowl cut.
That was the thing, I think, back then.
I mean, maybe.
Or in the future, whenever that was.
I had this weird idea, like I got this dress at Limited Too that I never wore. It was this like burgundy kind of dress, like a black silk thing on top of it, and I thought, like, I'm gonna wear this to some red carpet event when I'm 7 years old. Jake Lloyd's gonna propose, and we're gonna be married. Well,
not so much.
No.
Have you ever run into him?
No, never.
I bet you he'd be thrilled to find out somewhere out there in his past you wanted to marry him.
Well, I've read up on him a few times in the past, and he doesn't seem too keen on his experience with the Star Wars film, so I wouldn't want to like bring it up and ruffle his feathers.
It's probably not the best.
Am I 60? Why did I just say ruffle his feathers?
On your date, on your future date with Anakin Skywalker. You do seem very mature for your age.
Oh, thanks.
Is it growing up in this industry and being around, I would guess, around a lot of adults? I mean, you were on shows with children, but...
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I'm like 8-year-old girl meets like middle-aged kind of grumpy man. Like, I don't know. You were talking about living and being, accepting yourself when you don't know who that is, and I think that kind of fits me. I'm just trying to like figure me out.
Hard, middle-aged, grumpy man. I kind of love that. All right, one last question before I let you go.
Okay.
Eugene wrote in and says, what do you do in your spare time? If you're a middle-aged, grumpy man, you yell at the kids on the front porch?
Yeah, and eat a Hungry Man TV dinners, Hungry Jack and meatloaf and potatoes. No, I love going to see live comedy. I live in LA, and so I go see like UCB improv shows. I love stand-up. I used to go to the movie theater. I haven't done that as much recently. I'm an amusement park enthusiast. I have sleepovers with my girlfriends. Just fun stuff.
Well, you have one planned pretty soon with Miranda?
Yeah.
Fun with that.
Yeah. That'd be great.
If only you had the kids menu pizza.
The honey chicken pizza.
The honey chicken pizza. That was the only thing that would probably make it better. I want to thank you so much for coming to hang out with us today.
Thank you.
And a big thanks to everyone who sent in questions on Periscope and on Twitter and left us videos. Between is airing now on Netflix. You can catch a new episode every Thursday night at 11:30 p.m. Eastern and 8:30 p.m. Pacific. For more information about Between and all of the other amazing things Jennette is doing, you can visit the links in our resource hole below, and stay tuned. Mark the Mile is up next with World Review.
Thank you. You're so smooth.
Absolutely.
Thanks for like going here, going.
Oh yeah, I have my hair in my mouth.
Perfect. And one of you.
We're gonna put a guest on
So
towards
much.
the end.
Good lord, sir. You want to leave your wires? I don't know what you're at. You can feel free to come back.
I don't know if this is still live.
We'll take your microphone over here.
Thank you.